The unexpected visitors. The message arrived on a Tuesday. Commander Elena Reyes had been reviewing satellite data in the International Space Command's monitoring facility when every system simultaneously registered the signal. It wasn't like anything they'd ever detected before, a series of perfectly structured mathematical sequences repeating at precise intervals, originating from somewhere beyond Neptune's orbit. "What am I looking at, Dr. Chen?" Reyes asked, her dark eyes fixed on the pulsing patterns streaming across the main display. Dr. Mei Chen, ISC's head of Seno Communications, couldn't tear her gaze from her workstation. "It's definitely artificial, Commander. The pattern contains prime numbers, mathematical constants, and what appears to be a simple pictographic language matrix." She looked up, her expression a mixture of awe and disbelief. "Someone's calling us. And they're coming here." Within hours, space agencies worldwide confirmed an object decelerating as it approached Earth's orbit, a vessel of impossible proportions and design. World leaders convened an emergency session, while military forces went on high alert. Commander Reyes, with her unparalleled diplomatic and tactical experience, was the natural choice to lead humanity's first contact team. The landing site was established in a remote area of the Mongolian steppe. As dawn broke over the grasslands, the alien vessel descended with impossible grace for its massive size, settling onto the Earth with barely a whisper. A delegation of Earth's most brilliant minds and seasoned diplomats waited, Reyes at their center, as a doorway materialized in the vessel's smooth hull. The beings that emerged defied human expectations. The lead figure stood nearly 8 feet tall, its form vaguely humanoid but with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. It was flanked by 5 distinctly different creatures, one resembling a crystalline insect, another seeming to be composed of swirling gas contained within a translucent membrane. The diversity suggested not a single species, but a coalition. "I am Archon Telavon of the Galactic Council," the tall being announced, its voice resonating directly in their minds rather than traveling through air. "We represent the unified civilizations of what you call the Milky Way galaxy. We have been observing Earth for centuries, waiting for the right moment to establish contact." Reyes stepped forward, maintaining a diplomat's composure despite her racing heart. "I am Commander Elena Reyes, representing the nations of Earth. We welcome you to our world, Archon Telavon." "Your welcome is appreciated," the Archon responded, "though I must inform you that our arrival is not merely ceremonial. We come seeking Earth's assistance in a matter of grave significance to all sentient life in our galaxy." The meeting relocated to a hastily constructed facility nearby. Inside, the Archon activated a holographic display showing a sprawling map of the Milky Way, with thousands of star systems marked in various colors. "The green markers represent worlds belonging to Council species," Telavon explained. "The blue are uninhabited systems under our protection, and the purple are emerging civilizations like yours, whom we monitor but do not directly contact." Reyes noted that Earth was marked in purple, along with only a handful of other systems among the thousands displayed. "And these," the Archon continued, gesturing to an expanding region of red markers that consume nearly a third of the galactic disk, "are systems that no longer exist." A chill ran through the human delegation. "What happened to those worlds?" asked Dr. Chen. The crystalline being stepped forward, light refracting through its body in complex patterns. "They were consumed by what we call the Void Cascade, a force that destroys everything it touches, planets, stars, even the fabric of space-time itself. It leaves nothing but emptiness in its wake." The hologram zoomed in to show the edge of the red zone, where strange, shadow-like distortions seemed to be eating away at star systems in real time, leaving nothing behind. "How long has this been happening?" Reyes asked, unable to mask her horror. "The cascade began nearly 400 of your years ago," answered Telavon. "Despite our combined technological capabilities, we have been unable to halt its expansion. At its current rate, it will reach Earth's region of space within 15 of your years." Secretary General Martinez, Earth's highest diplomatic representative, leaned forward. "Why come to us? Surely your council has far more advanced technology and resources." The Archon's skin rippled with dark blues and purples, an emotional response. Rais guessed. "The council represents the most peaceful, advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Our species evolved beyond violent conflict millennia ago. We excel at creation, cooperation, and discovery, but we lack something essential for this fight." "And what's that?" asked General Hammond, the military representative. "The instinct for war," replied the gaseous entity, its voice a whisper like hiss through a translator device. "We have observed your species closely. Despite your technological limitations, you possess remarkable adaptability, resilience, and a unique approach to conflict. Your history is defined by overcoming impossible odds through innovation and determination." Rais felt a cold weight settling in her stomach. "You want us to fight your war?" "We offer an alliance," Telavon corrected. "In exchange for your military expertise and assistance, we will share our technology, medical advances that could end all disease on Earth, energy solutions that would eliminate your resource problems, faster than light travel capabilities, and more." The human delegation exchanged glances, the implications sinking in. Everything humanity had dreamed of, the stars within reach, the end of scarcity and disease, all theirs if they agreed to face a threat that had already consumed thousands of advanced civilizations. "We need time to consider your proposal," Secretary General Martinez finally said. "This is not a decision Earth can make lightly." "Of course," the Archon agreed, though Rais noticed a flicker of something in its posture. Urgency, perhaps desperation. "But please understand, Commander Rais, Secretary General, the cascade moves ever closer. Time is one resource even we cannot replenish." As the meeting concluded, Rais found herself lingering before the galactic map, studying the spreading red infection that threatened not just humanity, but all life in the galaxy. The offer presented humanity with everything they had ever dreamed of, yet something in the Council's explanation felt incomplete. Later that evening, alone in her quarters, Rais reviewed recordings of the meeting. She paused on an image of the Archon gesturing toward the map, noticing something she'd missed earlier, a slight hesitation when discussing the Cascade's origins. Training had taught her to recognize when someone was omitting information, regardless of their species. She activated her secure communication line to Dr. Chen. "May, I need you to analyze every piece of data the Council has shared with us. Look for inconsistencies, gaps in information, anything that doesn't add up." "You don't trust them?" Chen asked. Rais stared at the frozen image of Telavon. "In my experience, when someone more powerful than you asks for help, they're rarely telling you the whole story. And I want to know what they're not telling us before we commit humanity to a war we might not survive." As humanity deliberated the Council's offer, Rais couldn't shake the feeling that Earth stood at a crossroads. One path leading to the stars, the other potentially to extinction. But which was which? The answer, she suspected, lay in what the Council was hiding. The revelation. News of the alien visitation spread across Earth like wildfire. In homes, workplaces, and public squares, people debated humanity's response. Should Earth join an interstellar war to gain advanced technology? Was the risk worth the reward? In Washington, D.C., the United Nations Emergency Council convened in a specially secured chamber. Representatives from every nation took their seats as Secretary General Martinez called the meeting to order. "We faced the most consequential decision in human history," Martinez began. "The stakes could not be higher." General Hammond stood first, his weathered face reflecting poorly concealed excitement. "The technology they're offering would advance humanity by centuries. Faster than light travel alone would transform our civilization. Add their medical technology, and we're looking at the end of disease and aging." "At what cost?" countered Dr. Yelena Sokolov, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "They're asking us to fight a war they've been losing for 400 years. Why would we succeed where hundreds of advanced species have failed?" The room erupted in arguments, some nations favoring immediate alliance, others calling for extreme caution. Commander Rice watched from the side of the room, letting the debate unfold. Her communicator vibrated. A message from Dr. Chen. Found something. Lab 7. Now. Rice slipped out quietly, finding Chen in a secure laboratory surrounded by holographic displays showing data streams from the alien ship. What did you find? Rice asked. Chen looked up, her eyes reflecting both triumph and concern. I've been analyzing their communications. There's encrypted data embedded in their transmissions they don't think we can access. She pulled up strange symbols on the screen. Our quantum eye has partially decoded it. Look at these patterns. Ray studied the displays. What am I looking at? Timeline discrepancies, Chen said. According to their official story, the Void Cascade began 400 years ago. But these internal communications reference monitoring its development for over 2,000 years. They've been watching it for much longer than they admitted. That's not all, Chen continued, pulling up another display. They classified Earth differently in their internal systems. We're not just another emerging civilization like they told us. We're specifically designated as Combat Potential Species Alpha 1. They've been watching us specifically for our war-making abilities, possibly for centuries. Rice felt her suspicions crystallizing. They're hiding something fundamental about this threat and their interest in us. I think we should bring this to the council meeting, Chen suggested. Not yet, Rice countered. If we reveal what we know too soon, they might withhold critical information. Let's gather more evidence first. Back in the council chamber, the debate had intensified. As Rice slipped back in, the Archon Televon and 3 other council representatives were being invited to present additional information. We understand your hesitation. Televon began, the being's skin shifting to calming blues and greens. Allow us to share a more detailed assessment of the threat. The chamber darkened as a new hologram materialized, a recording of the Void Cascade consuming a star system. The diplomats watched in horrified silence as a beautiful world with gleaming cities was engulfed by creeping darkness, disintegrating into nothingness within minutes. That was Ilara Prime, home to over 12 billion Phaedrans, said the crystalline council member. One of the first major worlds lost. Since then, over 30,000 inhabited systems have been consumed. How exactly does this cascade operate? Rice asked, carefully controlling her tone. What is its composition? Its origin? The council members exchanged glances, a subtle interaction, but one Rice noted immediately. The cascade defies conventional scientific categorization, Televon replied. It appears to be a form of entropy acceleration, breaking down matter at the quantum level and converting it to a form of energy we cannot detect or interact with directly. But what caused it? Rice pressed. Natural phenomena follow patterns. Did it emerge spontaneously, or was there a triggering event? The gaseous entity rippled uncomfortably. Its precise origins remain unclear. It first appeared in a remote region near the galactic core, far from any major council world. Rice noticed the careful sidestep of her question. She decided to push further. In our experience, understanding a threat's origin is crucial to developing effective countermeasures. Your council represents the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Are you saying that in 400 years, you've learned nothing about where this came from? An uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. Finally, the crystalline being spoke. Commander Rice asks reasonable questions. Perhaps it is time for greater transparency. Televon's skin darkened momentarily before the Archon replied. Very well. The Void Cascade did not emerge naturally. We believe it was created. Murmurs swept through the human delegation. Created by whom? Secretary General Martinez demanded. By an extinct species called the Vor, Televon answered. They were not council members, a highly aggressive, expansionist civilization that existed on the fringes of council space. Our records suggest they were experimenting with weapons that could target specific quantum signatures when something went catastrophically wrong. So this is a weapon, General Hammond stated flatly. In essence, yes, but one that broke free of its creator's control and consumed them first, the Archon explained. The Cascade has since evolved, becoming more complex and resistant to our containment efforts with each system it consumes. Reyes exchanged glances with Dr. Chen, who had slipped back into the chamber. Something still didn't add up. If the Cascade was originally a weapon, why were the Council's peaceful civilizations so utterly unable to counter it? Even the most peace-loving species would develop defense technologies. After the meeting adjourned, Reyes, Chen, and a small team of Earth scientists gathered in a secure room. "They're still hiding something," Reyes stated. "Dr. Chen, what else have you found in their communications?" Chen activated a secure display. "I've been cross-referencing their ship's database entries that our systems can access. The Vor they mentioned, they didn't just exist on the fringes of Council space. According to fragmentary records, they controlled nearly a quarter of the galaxy 2,000 years ago and were in direct conflict with the early Council." "An enemy," Hammond concluded. "More than that," Chen continued. "The records suggest they were winning a war against the Council until they suddenly collapsed. The timing coincides with the earliest references to what would later be called the Cascade." "Are you suggesting the Council created this weapon themselves?" Secretary General Martinez asked, looking disturbed. "I don't have definitive proof," Chen admitted, "but the evidence points to something they're definitely not telling us. The Council species may be peaceful now, but that doesn't mean they always were." Reyes nodded slowly. "We need more information before Earth commits to anything. I want to arrange a private meeting with one of the junior Council representatives, perhaps the crystalline one who seemed willing to be more transparent." "How do you propose to do that without alerting Televon?" Hammond asked. "Leave that to me," Reyes replied, already formulating her plan. "In the meantime, I want our best scientists analyzing everything we know about this Cascade. If it's artificial in origin, it must have weaknesses we can exploit." As the group dispersed, Reyes remained behind, studying the galactic map with its spreading infection of red markers. The Council's offer promised everything humanity had dreamed of, but at what hidden cost? One thing was becoming increasingly clear. The Galactic Council hadn't chosen Earth merely for humanity's resilience and combat skills. They were desperate, and desperation often bred deception. She only hoped she could uncover the full truth before Earth made a decision that might prove irreversible, for better or worse. The hidden truth. The crystalline alien's name was Vexar, and arranging a private meeting had proven surprisingly simple. The junior Council representative had readily agreed to Reyes' invitation to tour Earth's lunar research facility, an opportunity to create distance from the watchful presence of Archon Televon. As their shuttle approached the moon's surface, Reyes observed Vexar's fascination with the stark lunar landscape. The crystalline being's faceted body refracted light in mesmerizing patterns as it gazed through the viewport. "Your people established this outpost with such primitive technology," Vexar commented, though the translator rendered the words with a tone of admiration rather than condescension. "The Council has been monitoring your progress for generations, but experiencing it firsthand is illuminating. How long has the Council been watching Earth specifically?" Reyes asked casually, though the question was calculated. "Longer than most realize," Vexar replied. "Your species was identified as having unique potential nearly 800 years ago. The designation was upgraded to priority status after your world wars demonstrated your remarkable ability to advance technology during conflict." Exactly as Chen had suspected, Reyes kept her expression neutral. "You seemed to advocate for greater transparency during our last meeting. I appreciated that." Vexar's crystalline structure dimmed slightly, an emotional response, Reyes had learned. Truth is the foundation of wisdom. The Council's selective disclosure troubles some of us. After the lunar base tour, Reyes guided Vexar to a secure conference room. "I've arranged for us to have privacy here," she said, activating a signal jammer that Chen had assured her would block any monitoring from the Council ship in Earth orbit. "I hope you don't mind. I have questions that might be difficult to discuss in other settings." "You suspect the Council is withholding critical information," Vexar stated directly. "Not a question." "Are we?" Rise countered. The crystalline being seemed to consider, facets shifting in contemplation. "What do you believe you know, Commander?" "I believe the Void Cascade isn't a Vor weapon that escaped control," Rice said. "I believe the Council, or some faction within it, created it. And I believe you've sought out humanity not just because we're good at war, but because we may approach the problem differently than your people have for centuries." Vexar remained silent for several moments, the being's crystalline structure pulsing with internal light. Finally, it responded, "Your insights are uncomfortably accurate." "Tell me the truth," Rise pressed. "Earth deserves to know what we'd be fighting." "Very well." Vexar's voice resonated through the translator with new harmonics that suggested emotional complexity. "The Cascade was indeed created by the early Council, though not as a weapon, precisely. 2,000 years ago, the galaxy was embroiled in a devastating war between the Council's founding species and the expansionist Vor Empire. The Vor were brutal conquerors who consumed resources at unsustainable rates, destroying entire ecosystems in their wake. The crystalline being continued, "Our ancestors sought a way to end the conflict without further bloodshed. Their solution was elegant in theory, a self-propagating field that would selectively target and neutralize Vor technology, forcing a peaceful resolution. But something went catastrophically wrong. The field evolved beyond its programmed parameters," Wright suggested. "Yes, instead of merely disabling technology, it began breaking down matter at the quantum level, consuming everything it touched and growing stronger with each system it absorbed. The Vor were the first to fall, their empire collapsing within decades. The Council managed to establish containment protocols that slowed the cascade spread, but never stopped it entirely. And now the containment is failing," Rice concluded. "It began accelerating exponentially 100 years ago." Vexar confirmed. "Our most recent projections suggest complete galactic consumption within 3 centuries unless a new approach is found. Why hide this truth from us? Why the story about an extinct aggressor species?" Vexar's crystalline surface dimmed. "Shame. Fear of judgment. The Cascade represents the greatest failure of our civilization, a terrible consequence of attempting to force peace through power. The founding Council species vowed never again to create technologies of destruction, even defensive ones. That vow has become the core of our identity and our vulnerability. That doesn't explain your interest in humans specifically," Rise noted. "Your species is unique among those we've encountered," Vexar explained. "Most sentient species follow predictable developmental paths. They either destroy themselves through technology they cannot control, or they evolve beyond conflict and join civilizations like ours. Humanity has walked a knife's edge between these outcomes for centuries, developing remarkable adaptability as a result. So you need us because we're still comfortable with conflict," Rice summarized. "We need you because you think differently," Vexar corrected. "The Council has approached the Cascade as a moral problem, atonement for a historical sin. We've been trying to heal it rather than defeat it. Your people might see solutions we cannot." Rice considered this revelation. "There's more, isn't there? Something you're still not telling me." The crystalline being seemed to sigh, a strange harmonic vibration. "The Cascade. It may have developed a form of consciousness. Our most recent studies suggest it's not merely consuming matter, but processing information, learning from each civilization it absorbs. Some believe it now targets Council worlds deliberately, as if guided by purpose." The implications chilled Rice to her core. Not just a runaway technology, but potentially a sentient force of destruction. "This changes everything about the decision Earth faces," she said finally. We need to know the full truth before committing to an alliance. Archon Televon believes your people would refuse to help if you knew the Council was responsible, Vexar admitted. Many Council members fear humanity might demand concessions beyond what we can offer if you understood our desperation. Or perhaps we'd be more motivated to help knowing the real stakes, Rise countered. Deception is a poor foundation for alliance, especially one where we'd be risking our species' future. When they returned to Earth, Rise immediately convened an emergency meeting with Secretary General Martinez, Dr. Chen, and key military and scientific leaders. She relayed everything Vexar had shared, watching their expressions shift from shock to grave concern. If this information is accurate, we're dealing with something far more complex than the Council initially presented, Martinez observed. And potentially more dangerous, General Hammond added. If this cascade has developed some form of consciousness and can learn from what it consumes, conventional military approaches may be ineffective or even counterproductive. Dr. Chen had been analyzing data throughout the briefing. Commander, I've been reviewing the cascade progression patterns from the Council's shared database, cross-referenced with what we've learned about its true nature. There's something odd about how it spreads. She displayed a time-lapse simulation of the cascade's expansion across the galaxy. Notice how it sometimes bypasses certain systems entirely, even when they lie directly in its path. It's not just consuming indiscriminately. It's making choices. Like it has preferences, Rise noted, studying the pattern. Or weaknesses, Dr. Elijah Park, Earth's leading quantum physicist, suggested. These bypassed systems might possess some natural characteristic that repels or disrupts the cascade. If we can identify what that is, we might develop a more effective defense than anything the Council has attempted, Chen finished. Rise felt the first glimmer of hope since the Council's arrival. Dr. Park, assemble a team to analyze these anomalies. Dr. Chen, continue mining the Council's database for any information about these untouched systems. What about Vexar's revelation? Martins asked. Do we confront the Council with what we know? Rise considered the question carefully. Not yet. Let's gather more evidence and develop our own preliminary approach first. If we're going to change the terms of this potential alliance, we need to negotiate from a position of strength. As the meeting concluded, Rise found herself standing alone before the global situation display, watching the simulated progression of the void cascade across the galaxy. The Council had sought out humanity because they needed warriors, or so they claimed. But what they truly needed, she realized, might be something far more essentially human: the ability to face hard truths and still find hope in impossible situations. The question now was whether Earth would join a mismanaged, failing war against a threat of the Council's own making, or whether humanity would chart its own course among the stars, potentially saving both themselves and a galaxy that had underestimated them. The human solution. For 3 weeks, Earth's best minds worked around the clock, analyzing every piece of data about the void cascade. The international research compound outside Geneva had become a hive of unprecedented collaboration. Quantum physicists working alongside military strategists, xenobiologists partnering with AI specialists. Commander Rise entered the central research hub, where holographic displays filled the air with swirling patterns of data. Dr. Park looked up from his workstation, dark circles under his eyes betraying his exhaustion, but his expression held unmistakable excitement. "We found something," he announced. "Something the Council missed entirely." He gestured to a holographic display showing systems the cascade had bypassed. "We identified 17 star systems that should have been consumed but weren't. At first, the common factor eluded us. They vary in stellar classification, planetary composition, everything we could measure." "So what connects them?" Rise asked. Dr. Chen joined them, bringing up another display. "It's not what they have. It's what they're missing." She highlighted a specific frequency pattern. Every bypassed system shows a complete absence of these quantum resonance patterns that are common throughout the rest of the galaxy. Park nodded eagerly. We believe the cascade operates by locking onto these specific quantum signatures, a remnant of its original programming to target Bohr technology. Systems naturally lacking these signatures are essentially invisible to it. Could we use this to create a defense? General Hammond asked, joining the conversation. Better, Park replied. We think we can create a countermeasure, a quantum resonance inverter that generates an opposing field. Essentially, we'd be feeding the cascade an anti-signature that disrupts its ability to consume matter. You're talking about a weapon, Rise observed. Not exactly, Chen clarified. More like a vaccine. It wouldn't destroy the cascade, but it would neutralize its ability to spread further, potentially forcing it to remain contained within its current boundaries. The Council never considered this approach because it goes against their fundamental philosophy, Park explained. They've been trying to heal or redeem their creation for centuries. They can't bring themselves to neutralize something they feel responsible for, even as it threatens the entire galaxy. Ray studied the proposal carefully. How confident are you in this solution? The theory is sound, Park said, but we need to test it. Small-scale laboratory tests show promising results, but we need to observe its effects on the actual cascade. Which means getting close to the expansion front, Hammond noted grimly. Exactly, Chen confirmed. And that requires the Council's cooperation, or at least their vessels, since we don't have faster-than-light capabilities. Rays considered their options. It's time to lay our cards on the table with the Council. Secretary General Martinez has called for a full session tomorrow to discuss their alliance proposal. We'll present our findings there. The next day, the United Nations chamber was filled to capacity. The full Galactic Council delegation occupied one side, while Earth's representatives filled the other. Archon Televon's skin rippled with anticipation as Secretary General Martinez opened the session. For 3 weeks, Earth has considered your proposal for alliance against the Void Cascade. Martinez began. Today, we will present our response. Rais stepped forward. Archon Televon, honored Council representatives, humanity appreciates the gravity of the situation our galaxy faces. We understand why you've sought our assistance. She paused deliberately. We also understand the true origin of the cascade and the Council's role in its creation. The room filled with tension as the Council members exchanged glances. Televon's skin darkened to deep purple. I see Vexar has shared information beyond his authority. The truth was necessary for us to fully address the problem, Rise replied evenly. And it has led us to a potential solution that your Council hasn't considered in its centuries of containment efforts. She nodded to Dr. Park, who activated a holographic display showing their quantum resonance inverter concept. We believe we've identified why certain star systems remain untouched by the cascade, and how to use that knowledge to halt its expansion. For the next hour, Earth scientists detailed their findings and proposed solution. As they concluded, the Council chamber fell silent. The crystalline Vexar was the first to respond, facets brightening with what appeared to be hope. This approach, we never considered it possible to use the Cascade's own quantum architecture against it, because you were trying to redeem it, not neutralize it, Rise noted. Human history is full of difficult choices between idealism and pragmatism. Sometimes survival requires setting aside what we wish were possible to embrace what is necessary. Televon's skin had shifted to contemplative blues and greens. Your solution is elegant in its simplicity, yet untested. Which brings us to our counter-proposal, Secretary General Martinez interjected. Earth will share this technology and work with the Council to implement it, but not as subordinate allies. We propose a partnership of equals. Equals. Another Council member objected. Your civilization hasn't even achieved faster-than-light travel. Yet we've identified a potential solution your combined civilizations missed for centuries, Hammond countered. Technological advancement isn't the only measure of a species' value. Ray stepped forward again. Our terms are straightforward. Earth will help deploy the quantum resonance inverters and provide military support if needed. In exchange, the Council will share specified technologies with us, particularly medical and energy advancements, and recognize Earth as a full independent member of the Galactic Council with equal standing. Such recognition is unprecedented for a species at your development stage. Tel Aviv objected. As is our situation, Martins replied firmly. We're being asked to commit our planet's resources and potentially our people's lives to address a crisis we didn't create. If we're to be partners in this effort, we must be partners in its governance as well. The Council representatives conferred among themselves through some form of silent communication. Finally, Tel Aviv addressed the human delegation. Your proposal has merit, though the terms will require refinement. We request a demonstration of this technology before committing to such a significant restructuring of galactic relations. Agreed, Rice said. We'll need access to one of your vessels capable of approaching the Cascade safely, and a Council escort to a testing site. I will accompany you personally, Vexar offered, earning a sharp look from Tel Aviv. As will I, the Archon added quickly. A matter of this importance demands highest-level oversight. As the session concluded, Dr. Chen approached Reyes privately. They agreed more readily than I expected, she murmured, especially considering how drastically this would change the power dynamic. They're desperate, Reyes replied, and our solution offers something they haven't had in centuries. Hope, but stay alert during the demonstration mission. Desperation can make even peaceful beings unpredictable. The preparations moved with remarkable speed. Within days, a prototype quantum resonance inverter had been adapted for deployment from a Council vessel. Reyes led a small team of Earth scientists and military personnel, including Dr. Park, Dr. Chen, and General Hammond. As they boarded the massive Council ship, Reyes felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. Their mission carried the future of Earth-Council relations, perhaps the fate of the galaxy itself. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that they were still missing something crucial about the Council's eagerness to test their solution. What she didn't realize was that across Earth, divisions were forming about humanity's new role in galactic politics. Some nations embraced the prospect of becoming equals among the stars. Others saw an opportunity to dominate, to use their newfound leverage to claim superiority not just among human nations, but among alien civilizations as well. The human solution might save the galaxy from the void cascade, but who would save humanity from itself when presented with such power? The new path forward. The Council vessel Celestial Harmony emerged from faster-than-light travel at the designated coordinates, a safe distance from the Cascade's advancing front. From the observation deck, Commander Reyes watched as the darkness of space was split by an unsettling phenomenon, a shimmering wall of nothingness that marked where normal space ended and the void cascade began. It's beautiful, in its way, Archon Tel Aviv remarked, standing beside her. A reminder that even our greatest mistakes can create something wondrous, however terrible. Beauty that destroys isn't beauty at all, Reyes countered. It's seduction. Dr. Park joined them, carrying the quantum resonance inverter, a deceptively simple-looking device about the size of a briefcase. We're ready to begin the test sequence. The drone carriers are prepped for deployment. Excellent, Vexar said, crystalline form pulsing with anticipation. Our sensors are calibrated to monitor quantum fluctuations across the entire spectrum. We should be able to observe even minimal effects on the cascade's behavior. The test protocol was straightforward. 3 identical drones would approach the cascade boundary, each with different configurations, one without protection as a control, one with the Council's standard containment field, and one equipped with Earth's quantum resonance inverter. From the ship's command center, the Earth Council team watched as the drones launched toward the shimmering wall of destruction. The unprotected drone disintegrated the moment it touched the boundary, as expected. The drone with Council protection lasted 17 seconds longer before succumbing. Then the third drone reached the boundary. Incredible, whispered Tel Aviv, as the drone not only survived contact, but actually penetrated the cascade's edge, transmitting data from within. The inverter is functioning precisely as theorized, Dr. Chen announced, studying the incoming data. It's creating a stable bubble that the cascade cannot recognize or interact with. More than that, Park added excitedly. Look at the boundary itself. Where the drone had entered, the cascade's edge was visibly retracting, creating a small but unmistakable indentation in its previously uniform front. It's not just protecting the drone, Rise observed. It's actively pushing the cascade back. We need to scale this up immediately, General Hammond stated, military mind already calculating deployment strategies. Agreed, Televan responded, skin shifting to excited yellows and oranges. If we adapt this technology to our largest vessels, we could establish a perimeter around the entire cascade front. Not so fast, Rise cautioned. This was a small-scale test. We need to understand any potential side effects before full deployment. As if answering her concern, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. The cascade is reacting, called out a council technician. Energy readings are spiking dramatically. On the display, they watched in horror as the cascade's boundary began pulsing, sending out waves of distortion that raced toward their position. Evasive maneuvers, Televan ordered. Maximum distance, now. The ship lurched as it accelerated away, but not before one of the distortion waves struck them. Systems flickered as strange energies washed over the vessel. Status report, Hammond demanded when the initial chaos subsided. All critical systems functioning, a council officer reported. But the cascade's behavior is unprecedented. It appears to be responding to the threat. I told you it had developed a form of consciousness, Vexar said quietly. It recognized our inverter as an existential threat and defended itself. Rais studied the ongoing sensor readings with growing concern. The reaction was proportional to our small device. If we deploy this on a large scale without proper precautions, the cascade might accelerate its expansion dramatically. Park finished, face pale with realization. We could inadvertently trigger a galaxy-wide cataclysm. The journey back to Earth was tense. The test had proven their theory correct. The quantum inverter could indeed affect the cascade, but it had also revealed new dangers. If the cascade could adapt and respond to threats, any large-scale solution would require perfect execution on the first attempt. There would be no second chances. Back on Earth, the United Nations Emergency Council reconvened to hear the mission results. The chamber was already divided, with certain nations pushing for immediate military applications of the inverter technology, while others urged caution and further research. The test confirms our approach is viable, Rise reported to the assembled representatives. But it also confirms what Council member Vexar has suggested. The cascade has evolved beyond its original programming. It reacts defensively when threatened. Then we hit it harder, suggested the representative from Russia. Develop weapons based on this technology. That could provoke a catastrophic acceleration of the cascade, Dr. Park countered. We're dealing with something that learns and adapts. Brute force alone won't work. Secretary General Martinez raised his hands for silence as the debate intensified. We face two separate questions. First, how to address the cascade itself. Second, how to structure our ongoing relationship with the Galactic Council. Archon Televan stepped forward. The Council recognizes that humanity has proven its value beyond our expectations. We are prepared to accept Earth as a probationary member of the Galactic Council, with full technology sharing as originally proposed. Probationary? Hammond questioned sharply. A formality, Televan assured them. It simply acknowledges that your civilization is still developing certain interstellar capabilities. Rise noted the careful language, a diplomatic way of maintaining the Council's superior position, while appearing to concede to Earth's demands. Before she could comment, an aide rushed into the chamber and whispered urgently to the Secretary General. Martinez's expression darkened. We've just received reports that 3 nations have independently begun mass-producing variants of the quantum inverter technology without international authorization. The chamber erupted in outrage and accusations. The fragile unity that had characterized Earth's response to the galactic crisis was fracturing along familiar geopolitical lines. This is precisely why the Council has always approached emerging worlds cautiously, Televan observed, skin darkening with concern. New technologies can destabilize societies unprepared for their implications. Ray stepped to the center of the chamber. Enough. Her commanding voice cut through the chaos. This petty infighting is exactly what will doom us. The Cascade doesn't care about our national borders or political ambitions. Either we solve this together, or we all face extinction. She turned to face both the human representatives and the Council delegation. I propose a new approach, one that addresses both the Cascade threat and our relationship with the galactic community. Over the next hour, Reyes outlined a comprehensive plan. Earth would share the quantum inverter technology with the Council, but deployment would be conducted in carefully coordinated phases under joint oversight. Meanwhile, Earth would establish an independent planetary unity directive, a new governing body specifically tasked with managing humanity's transition to a galactic civilization. We accept the Council's guidance, she concluded, but not its dominance. Humanity will join the galactic community as partners, not subordinates or weapons in a war not of our making. To her surprise, it was Vexar who responded first. Commander Reyes speaks with wisdom beyond her years. The Council's traditional approach has failed for centuries. Perhaps it is time we embraced a new perspective. After days of intense negotiation, a historic agreement was reached. The Galactic Council would recognize Earth's independent status while providing specific technological assistance focused on medical, environmental, and energy advancements. In exchange, Earth would contribute its unique perspective on containing and eventually neutralizing the void cascade. The solution that emerged combined human innovation with Council resources in ways neither would have conceived independently. Rather than a direct assault on the cascade that might provoke catastrophic response, they developed a network of quantum resonance satellites that would gradually establish boundaries the cascade could not cross, essentially caging rather than killing it. 6 months later, Commander Reyes stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, humanity's first orbital diplomatic facility built with Council assistance. Below, Earth glowed blue and serene against the blackness of space. Beside her stood Vexar, whose crystalline form had become a familiar and welcome sight in human space. The first phase of the containment network is operational, Vexar reported. Initial readings suggest the cascade has slowed its expansion by 17% already. And the Council? Reyes asked. Have they accepted our full membership yet? There is still resistance from some of the elder species, Vexar admitted, but most recognize that Earth has earned its place among us. Your appointment as Joint Commander of the Cascade Containment Initiative was approved unanimously. Reyes smiled slightly. Not bad for a species that hasn't even colonized its own solar system yet. Your technological advancement was never the question, Vexar observed. It was your perspective we needed. Your ability to see possibilities where we saw only atonement or surrender. A communication alert chimed softly. Dr. Chen's face appeared on a nearby display. Commander, we're receiving the first data packets from the deep field probes. You might want to see this. The display shifted to show sensor readings from the edge of the containment network. The cascade's boundary was changing, not just slowing, but actually stabilizing in some regions. It's working even better than we projected, Chen said, excitement evident in her voice. At this rate, complete containment could be achieved within a decade rather than a century. And then, Vexar asked. And then, Reyes replied, we finally have time to properly study this thing, to understand it rather than simply fear it. Who knows? The cascade might eventually be transformed into something beneficial rather than destructive. As the station continued its orbit, Earth rose again into view. Reyes reflected on how quickly everything had changed. 6 months ago, humanity had stood alone in the cosmos, unaware of the galactic community or the threat it faced. The Council had come seeking warriors for a war they couldn't win on their own terms. Instead, they had found partners who showed them a different path forward, not through domination or submission, but through collaboration that respected each civilization's unique strengths. Your people have a saying, Vexar noted, observing Earth alongside her. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. But you've shown us something more valuable, that sometimes there need not be enemies at all, only challenges to overcome together. Reyes nodded. That's the path humanity has always struggled to find for itself. Perhaps in reaching for the stars, we'll finally learn to walk it. Below them, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun, no longer isolated but connected to a vast community of worlds and civilizations. The Galactic Council had come begging for humanity's help, expecting warriors. Instead, they found something far more powerful, a species that, despite its flaws and divisions, never stopped searching for better solutions. Humanity had turned its back on the role the Council tried to assign them, charting their own course instead. And in doing so, they may have saved not just themselves, but an entire galaxy.